stop carrying this. Some of what you feel every day was never assigned to you. It was handed to you quietly, placed on your shoulders without permission. And over time, you stopped questioning it. You just adjusted. You told yourself this is love. This is maturity. This is responsibility. But let me ask you something carefully. When did you decide it was your job to manage everyone's emotions? When did you start apologizing for reactions you did not cause? When did you begin believing that peace in the room depended entirely on you? You have been carrying guilt that does not belong to your actions. You have been holding pressure that was born from other people's fears. You have been trying to meet expectations that were never aligned with who you truly are. And it is exhausting you. You feel it in your chest, in the tension behind your thoughts, in the way you overthink conversations long after they end. You replay moments, wondering if you could have done more, said more, fixed more. You take responsibility for moods, for disappointment, for outcomes that were never yours to control. I never asked you to live like that. There is a difference between loving someone and carrying their burden for them. There is a difference between compassion and self-erasure. You have confused endurance with obedience. You have confused self-sacrifice with worth. And I see how tired you are if you keep carrying what was never yours. It will reshape your identity. It will teach you that your value depends on how much you absorb. It will convince you that rest is selfish. It will slowly disconnect you from peace. But today, you will begin to separate what is yours from what is not. Let me show you where this weight truly began. The invisible contract you never signed. You did not wake up one day and choose this weight. It formed slowly. As a child, you sensed tension before anyone spoke. You noticed shifts in tone. You learned which words calmed the room and which ones made it worse. Without realizing it, you stepped into a role, the peacemaker, the responsible one, the strong one. No one handed you a paper to sign. No one formally assigned you the task, but you felt it. If you stayed quiet, things stayed stable. If you performed well, approval increased. If you solved problems quickly, conflict softened. So you adapted. You began managing emotions that were not yours. You carried atmospheres. You absorbed stress. You took on responsibility beyond your years because it felt safer than being powerless. And slowly, an invisible contract formed inside you. If I keep everyone okay, I will be okay. If I fix this, I will be secure. If I carry the weight, things will not fall apart. But listen carefully. That contract was never written by me. You were never meant to regulate every environment you enter. You were never designed to stabilize every person who feels unstable. You were never appointed as the emotional foundation of everyone around you, yet you live as if you were. You enter rooms scanning for tension. You measure your words carefully. You anticipate disappointment before it happens. You adjust your behavior to prevent conflict that may not even exist. That is not maturity. That is hyper-responsibility. And hyper-responsibility is heavy. You learned to feel accountable for reactions you did not cause. You learned to apologize quickly, even when you were not wrong. You learned to fix before anyone asked you to. But here is the truth. You cannot control what was never yours to control. And the moment you begin to see that clearly, something inside, you will start to loosen. Let me show you how guilt became the chain that kept this contract alive. Borrowed guilt. Guilt can be holy when it points to truth. But the guilt you have been carrying did not come from your wrongdoing. It came from proximity. You stood close to disappointment long enough that it felt like yours. You stood near anger long enough that you felt responsible for calming it. You stood beside someone's unmet expectations long enough that you believed you had failed. But tell me honestly, did you create their fear? Did you invent their insecurity? Did you design their reaction? Yet you absorbed it. You replay conversations in your mind, searching for where you could have prevented the outcome. You say, "I'm sorry," before anyone even accuses you. You feel uneasy when someone is upset, even when their frustration has nothing to do with your behavior. That is borrowed guilt. It is subtle. It feels noble. It feels mature. But it is misplaced. You feel guilty for setting boundaries, guilty for resting, guilty for saying no, guilty for choosing yourself. And the more you carry that guilt, the more you silence your own needs. But guilt that is misplaced will distort your identity. It will convince you that peace depends on your overfunctioning. It will teach you that love requires constant adjustment. It will make you believe that conflict is always your failure. That is not truth. You are responsible for your actions. You are not responsible for how others process their emotions. You are accountable for your words. You are not accountable for every reaction they produce. And when you begin to separate those things, you will feel something unfamiliar, relief. But guilt is only one layer of this weight. There is something else hiding underneath it, something that feels even more justified. Let me show you how pressure disguised itself as love. Pressure disguised as love. You were told it was love. Work harder, be better, do not disappoint, do not make waves, do not fail. It sounded like guidance. It felt like care, but underneath it, there was pressure. You learned early that approval increased when you performed well. You noticed that peace followed achievement. You sensed that affection felt safer when you met expectations. So you connected two things that were never meant to be tied together: love and performance. You believed if you did enough, you would be enough. If you succeeded, you would be secure. If you pleased, you would be protected. And so you tried. You became reliable, responsible, high-achieving. You anticipated needs before they were spoken. You avoided conflict to preserve harmony. You adjusted yourself to fit what was expected. But earning love is exhausting. You were not designed to negotiate your worth through effort. You were not meant to prove your value by carrying pressure that belongs to someone else's standards. Pressure can feel holy when it is wrapped in responsibility. It can feel righteous when it is connected to sacrifice. But when pressure becomes your identity, it steals your rest. You feel uneasy when you are not achieving. You feel anxious when you are not needed. You feel tension when you disappoint someone, even in small ways. That is not love guiding you. That is pressure shaping you. I never tied my love to your performance. You do not need to earn what was already given, but there is something even deeper beneath this pressure, something that keeps you holding on to these weights, even when you know they are crushing you. Let me show you why being needed became part of who you are. The addiction to being needed. There is a part of you that feels valuable when someone depends on you, when someone calls because they do not know what to do, when someone leans on you in crisis, when someone says, "I do not know what I would do without you." It feels meaningful. It feels important. It feels like purpose. But look closer. When you are not needed, you feel unsettled. When no one is asking for your help, you feel almost invisible. When things are calm and no one requires your strength, you do not fully relax. Why? Because somewhere along the way, usefulness became identity. You learned that being needed secured connection. You learned that solving problems kept people close. You learned that carrying weight made you indispensable, so you carried more. You volunteered for emotional labor. You inserted yourself into situations to stabilize them. You offered solutions before they were requested. You made yourself essential, and slowly you began to fear something. What if they stop needing me? What if they become strong on their own? What if my value decreases when my effort decreases? Listen carefully. That fear does not come from me. You were never created to secure love by overextending yourself. You were never meant to maintain connection through exhaustion. You were not designed to anchor every storm. When being needed becomes addictive, you will unconsciously seek chaos to justify your role. You will stay in dynamics that drain you because they confirm your importance. But importance built on overfunctioning is unstable. Your worth does not increase When you carry more, your value does not rise. When you solve what others should learn to face themselves, and until you understand that, you will keep holding burdens that were never assigned to you. Let me show you what is actually yours to carry. What is actually yours to carry? Not everything that lands in your life belongs on your shoulders. There is a difference between responsibility and ownership. Responsibility means you answer for your actions. Ownership means you carry the consequences of what you create. But you have blurred that line. You have taken ownership of outcomes that were shaped by choices you did not make. You are responsible for your words. You are not responsible for how someone interprets them through their wounds. You are responsible for your effort. You are not responsible for another person's refusal to grow. You are responsible for your honesty. You are not responsible for someone else's discomfort with truth. When you confuse those boundaries, you live in constant tension. You monitor reactions. You adjust your tone excessively. You shrink your opinions to avoid waves. You step in before someone feels the natural result of their own decisions. That is not compassion. That is interference with growth. It is not your role to prevent every disappointment. It is not your task to absorb every emotional reaction. It is not your calling to fix what others are meant to face. What is yours to carry is simple. Your integrity, your obedience to truth, your effort, your boundaries, your peace, nothing more. When you carry only what is yours, you feel lighter without becoming careless. You feel clear without becoming cold. You remain loving without becoming consumed. But here is where you hesitate. You fear that putting down the extra weight will cost you something. Let me show you why letting go feels so dangerous to you. Why? You are afraid to let it go. You know the weight is heavy. You know some of it is not yours. And yet, you hesitate. Why? Because letting go feels like risk. If you stop absorbing guilt, will they think you are cold? If you stop over-functioning, will they call you selfish? If you stop fixing, will they walk away? You are not afraid of the burden itself. You are afraid of what might happen if you put it down. Somewhere inside you, there is a belief that carrying this weight keeps you connected, that absorbing pressure keeps relationships stable, that managing everything prevents abandonment. So you hold on. You tell yourself it is safer to be tired than to be rejected, safer to be responsible than to be misunderstood, safer to overextend than to disappoint. But listen closely. If a relationship only survives because you are overcarrying, it is not sustained by love. It is sustained by imbalance. You fear conflict. You fear withdrawal. You fear being seen as difficult. But the deeper fear is this: if I stop carrying all of this, who will I be? You have built identity around endurance, around reliability, around usefulness, and releasing false responsibility feels like erasing part of yourself. But I'm not asking you to lose yourself. I am asking you to lose what was never truly you. Letting go does not remove your compassion. It refines it. It does not remove your strength. It redirects it. It does not remove your love. It purifies it from fear. The danger is not in release. The danger is in continuing to live under a weight that distorts your spirit. And there is one more misunderstanding that has kept you carrying what was never assigned. Let me correct it. Clearly, the spiritual misunderstanding somewhere along the way you believed that carrying more made you holier. You thought suffering quietly proved devotion. You thought absorbing pain demonstrated love. You thought enduring without protest honored me, but I never asked you to confuse sacrifice with self-destruction. There is a difference between laying down your life and losing yourself. There is a difference between serving and surrendering your identity. There is a difference between obedience and emotional martyrdom. You have endured situations I did not assign to you. You have tolerated patterns I did not design for you. You have called exhaustion faithfulness. Faithfulness is not measured by how much you can absorb. When I call you to carry something, I strengthen you for it. When I assign responsibility, I give grace that matches it. But when you take on what was never yours, you feel drained instead of sustained. That draining is not a test of your holiness. It is a signal. You were not created to be the emotional savior of everyone around you. That role belongs to me. You were not designed to fix every broken dynamic. You were not appointed to rescue every wounded heart. You love deeply. That is beautiful. But love without boundaries becomes distortion. I am not honored by your exhaustion. I am not glorified by your collapse. I am not asking you to carry what I did not place in your hands. And now you are ready for the final step. Not understanding, not analysis. Release. The act of release. This is where it changes. Not in theory, not in reflection. In decision. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture everything you have been carrying. The guilt that wakes you at night. The pressure that tightens your chest. The expectations that whisper you are not enough. Now, separate them. Which of these did you create? Which of these did I give you? Which of these simply attached themselves because you were compassionate and available? You do not have to carry what was never assigned. Say it quietly in your spirit. This is not mine. The disappointment is not mine. The fear they project is not mine. The outcome I cannot control is not mine. Feel the shift. You are still responsible for your integrity. You are still accountable for your choices. But you are no longer the container for everyone else's emotional weight. Release is not abandonment. It is alignment. You are not walking away from love. You are walking away from distortion. You are not rejecting responsibility. You are restoring boundaries. You are not becoming selfish. You are becoming truthful. Put it down. The guilt that was borrowed, the pressure that was inherited, the expectations that were imposed. Put it down. I did not design you to live bent under invisible burdens. I designed you to walk steady, clear, grounded. Stop carrying what was never yours. Rest now. That is enough.